and welcome to the business world of South Korea. The Korean Peninsula is situated in Northeast Asia between China and Japan. Korea, one country for more than 1,000 years, has been divided between North and South since 1945. The South is officially called the Republic of Korea. Korea has a population of 50.9 million people as of 2016, making South Korea rank 26 in world population. The capital of South Korea is known as Seoul, Korea, located in the northern western part of South Korea. Due to its very large population and small area, Seoul is known for its population density, which is about 44,700 people per square mile. Overall, South Korea is a beautiful and wonderful place, with some of the demographics already being stated, such as the population being at 50 million people, life expectancy at 82.16 years, ranking number 11 in the world, fertility rate at 1.24 births per woman, and population growth rate at 0.4% annual change. The main language spoken in South Korea is known as Korean. As we continue on, the objective of this presentation is to provide South Korean market entrants with information on political, economical, socio-cultural, technological, environmental, and legal information. Starting off with political. The political system in South Korea consists of the executive branch and the legislative branch. Due to the recent impeachment of Park Geun-hye, the current president of South Korea is known as Moon Jae-in. The current prime minister of South Korea is known as Lee Nak-yeon.
South Korea's economy is at a crossway. Despite its relatively well-maintained macroeconomic stability and openness to global trade, the economy has been weakening, with momentum for growth increasingly passive in the absence of decisive policy reforms to improve overall efficiency and flexibility. Ongoing political instability and uncertainty have made structural economic reform almost impossible. The rule of law has been fairly well established in South Korea, supporting such other pillars of economic freedom as regulatory efficiency and market openness. However, repeated high-profile corruption scandals have raised concerns about government integrity and eroded the public's trust and confidence in government.
And now moving on to economical. We will discuss here GNI per PPP, GNI per capita, Human Development Index, and exchange rates of South Korea.
GNI per PPP is when the gross national income is converted to international dollars using purchasing power parity rates. In the 50s, South Korea's GNI per PPP stood at $70. As of 2016, South Korea's gross national income per PPP is at $35,790 in US dollars. As of 2016, South Korea's GNI per capita is 27,600. Their GNI has rapidly grown since the 1950s due to some aid from the United States. South Korea's GNI per capita stood at $1,420 at one point and is now standing at 27,600. In terms of Human Development Index, which consists of a long, healthy life or quality or standard of living, South Korea is lacking behind America. In foreign exchange rates, comparing the South Korean won to the Japanese yen, South Korean money is more appreciative than Japan in relation to the US dollar.
Next, socio-cultural. Here we'll be discussing education, languages, religions, cultural data about South Korea. The most important characteristic of Koreans is their zeal for education. This comes from the Korean people's traditional respect for knowledge and belief in continuous human development. Probably the most important characteristic of Korean culture is its tenet that only the most learned should rule the country and society. Korea is ranked 5 worldwide in math and reading, while ranking 11th in science. Religion in South Korea is characterized by the fact that an absolute majority of South Koreans, which is 57%, have no formal membership in a religious organization. 20% of the population belongs to Protestantism, 50% to Buddhism, Korean Buddhism, and 8% goes to the Roman Catholic Church. Buddhism was influential in ancient times, and Christianity persuaded large segments of the population already in the 18th and 19th century, yet they grew rapidly in membership only by the mid 20th century. The languages spoken in South Korea are Standard Korean, Korean dialects only spoken in different parts of Korea, not many, English, which nearly all those under age of 40 will have had English lessons at school, and Chinese, which is a large community in South Korea. For the cultural data, we'll be looking at Hofstede and Trompenar's data. With Hofstede's cultural dimension theory, we are able to describe the effects of South Korea's culture on the values of its members and how these values relate to behavior using a structure derived from factor analysis. As you can see, at 85, South Korea is one of the most uncertainty avoiding countries in the world. Countries exhibiting high uncertainty avoidance maintain rigid codes of belief and behavior and are intolerant of unorthodox behavior and ideas. At 100, South Korea scores as one of the most pragmatic, long term oriented societies. People live their lives guided by virtues and practical good examples. In corporate South Korea, you see long term orientation in the higher own capital rate, priority to steady growth of market share rather than a quarterly profit, and so on. Next is Trompenar's model of national cultural differences, which is a framework for cross-cultural communication applied to general businesses and management, developed by Fons Temporos and Charles Hampton Turner. As you can see, the US ranks higher in Trompenar's cultural data than South Korea, but South Korea isn't far behind. As you can see, South Korea ranked pretty high in individualism because people believe in personal freedom and achievement. They also believe that you make your own decisions and that you must take care of yourself. South Korea also did well, scoring high on specific on Trompenar's model, meaning that people keep work and personal lives separate. As the result, they believe that relationships don't have much of an impact on work.
Among the technological indices, South Korea remained the big winner this year, topping the international charts in value-added manufacturing, patent activity, and research and development intensity, spending 4.23% of their gross domestic product. With top 5 rankings in high-tech density, higher education, and research concentration, scant progress in improving its productivity score, now number 32 in the world, helps explain why South Korea's lead narrowed in the past year. Innovation and technology are the key factors that have underpinned South Korean export competitiveness and fueled the country's remarkable economic rise over the past decades. The growth rate has been so impressive that the East Asian nation went from being one of the poorest countries in the 1960s to becoming the world's 11th largest economy. With powerhouse chaebols like Samsung and LG pressing international competition in the technology field, and a government focused on policies geared towards improving technology and research, South Korea provides an opportune market for continued growth in the technology sector. Due to the country's expenditure on research and development, as well as the population's strong focus on education as a mark of social and economic status, the nation has steadily become one of the world's top producers of scientific papers as well as patents. South Korea's environmental performance is ranked number 80 of 180 countries, compared to the US at number 26. Although South Korea boasts an outstanding household air quality rating of 97.5%, They are plagued with air quality issues from NO2 and PM 2.5 exposure ratings, coming in at number 174 in both categories. The air quality rating is disproportionately responsible for its overall low score in the environmental performance indices, considering their improvement in other categories. The air quality issue directly affects the environmental risk exposure and overall health impact scores, as well as the agriculture and habitat scores. Unfortunately, more than half of South Korea's citizens regularly breathe dangerously polluted air, producing serious health effects for the highly urbanized nation. In 2013, more than 20,000 premature deaths were blamed on the country's foul air. In a typical day, 25 million South Koreans inhale an unsafe amount of microscopic particles of various sizes. Though the small peninsula country is not entirely to blame due to the large amount of particulate matter that originates in neighboring China, they have room to improve considering the main sources of these emissions are vehicles, factories, and coal-powered plants. The South Korean legal system is a civil law system influenced by European civil law. However, the U.S. law has influenced more recent legislations. South Korea does not recognize a federal system, but instead a court system consisting of a Supreme Court, High Court, District Courts, Family Courts, Patent Courts, and Administrative Courts. The South Korean legal system, as well as the current presidential representative democratic republic form of government, are relatively new compared to the U.S. and certainly to other established European countries. As such, it is unsurprising that they suffer from certain issues related to developing nations. South Korea outpaces the U.S. in criminal and civil justice, regulatory enforcement, and order and security, but falls short on fundamental rights, open government, absence of corruption, and constraints on government power. South Korea's overall rank is 34th in the world, compared to the U.S. at number 14. The rank is partially due to the poor scores in protection of intellectual property rights at number 46, patent protection at number 19, and copyright protection at number 24. In discussing a SWOT analysis, our research has concluded that among South Korea's strengths are an educated and English proficient workforce, backed by an excellent education system and a high level of research and development spending, have provided a diversified industrial base and a consumer base with a strong appetite for imported brands. As a leader in the development and production of high-quality electronics, South Korea's principal weaknesses include an aging population and inflexible labor markets, which contribute to the significant youth unemployment despite their excellent education system. The unpredictability of the North Korean regime, as well as widespread government corruption, could cause unstable business practices in the future. Additionally, high household and small business debt levels, compounded by a high volume of commodities, a general resistance to foreign business models, coupled with the unique industry standards and less than transparent regulations, are worth noting, but can be overcome with the right research and training. The most unpredictable threat remains the relations with North Korea.